Let's go to Mayfield. I'm Tavis, Smiley. Glad to have you with us in this second hour of our program today. Two conversations in this hour on the backside. Climate Disrupt Her, author and founder of Girl Plus Environment. Diamond Spratling on her work to increase the involvement of black women in particular in the clean energy sector. But we commenced this hour with this, yet another abduction by the Trump administration, this time a Muslim journalist in the middle of a U.S. speaking tour. We'll get details right now about what happened and why it matters from Edward Ahmed Mitchell of CAIR, the Council on American-Islamic Relations. Edward, how are you, sir? Good to have you back on the program.
I'm doing well, thank God. Tavis, how are you, brother?
Man, if I complained, I'd be an ingrate. I'm doing okay, Set
Very
the
good.
frame for me. Tell me about the story that we're going to talk about here, and I'll follow you.
Okay, so Sami Hamdi is a British Muslim journalist, very active in discussing Middle East affairs. He has visited the United States many times for speaking tours, BBC, Sky News. He's just a very prominent figure in the media when it comes to commenting on issues related to the Middle East, democracy in the Middle East, Gaza, Israel, etc. He was visiting the United States this past week to actually speak at CAIR events, my organization's chapters. He spoke at CAIR Sacramento's annual gala on a Friday night. When he went to the airport to travel to Florida for their banquet, he was stopped by ICE agents who put him in a car and disappeared him, much like they did with Mahmoud Khalil or Mesa Oztark and other college students who had spoken up against the Israeli government's human rights abuses. So he is in detention right now. It appears to us he was detained because of his very vocal criticism of the Israeli government. And the other interesting thing I'll note, Tavis, is that again, he came into the country fine. He was not targeted when he came into the
Mm-hmm.
country, but a very far right anti Muslim extremist with some level of influence over the government launched a social media campaign against him after he was here. And that apparently may have contributed to the government then deciding to cancel his visa and arrest him.
So he gives a speech in Sacramento. He's at the airport on his way to Florida, and they just snatch him.
Correct. Snatch him, put him in a car, and take him to a detention facility, and then transfer him to a different city in California. So again, this is not sadly new. This is
Yeah.
very similar to what happened to college kids earlier this year who were detained for being critical of the Israeli government, because the administration's theory is that immigrants essentially do not have free speech rights. That if an immigrant or a visitor to the country says something the government does not like, they don't have the protections of a U.S. citizen, which, as a lawyer, I believe is not true at all. That the
Mm-hmm.
First Amendment applies to everyone on American soil. Now, if you're not here, that's a different thing. But once you're here, the government can't just restrict your free speech or your religion because you're not a citizen. That's not how it works.
So what happens now that he's more than just detained? He's jailed. How long has he been jailed, and what happens next in this case?
So we're coming up on 72 hours of him being in detention. Our CARE California leadership and legal team met with him finally yesterday,
Mm-hmm.
and afterward filed multiple legal motions to number one, seek his release or at least bond while his case unfolds, and number two, to prevent the government from transferring him to another state, which is what they've done with other detainees. They transferred them to Louisiana to keep them away from their attorneys and to put them in front of immigration judges who are very, very hostile to their cases. So those legal motions were filed last night. He's doing as well as one can be doing in a circumstance like this. He's in good spirits. He thanks everyone who's expressed solidarity with him. But now it's a legal fight at this point as to the question of what will happen to him and the broader issue of whether or not immigrants and visitors to this country have free speech rights. That's what this is ultimately all about: is can an immigrant or a visitor criticize not even our government, can they
Right.
criticize a foreign government, or can our government then detain them and deport them because they did so? That's a huge legal question that may be answered because of this case and others.
So we expect as Americans, when we are detained, we are told why. If we're arrested, they must read us our Miranda rights. We know that from all the TV shows that we watch. So we know what to expect as fellow citizens. When you are here from another country, and they detain you and put you in a car and disappear you for something you might have said at a speech, like what do they say to you? I mean, when ICE snatches you in a situation like this, do they have an obligation? Do you have a right for them to tell you why you're being snatched? Like, what do they say to you?
Yeah, so it depends. We've seen video footage of ICE officers wearing masks, suddenly descending upon people, grabbing them, saying, "You're under arrest, you're being detained," not explaining why, not justifying themselves, not showing warrants, just grabbing the person and taking them away. There was very shocking video of them doing that to Rumesa Ozturk, who was a young woman in Massachusetts, who was heading home, and the officers just swooped in on her on an open city street while wearing masks. For all she knew, she was being kidnapped.
Exactly.
And they just detained her. And so, ICE, what their practice should be to show a warrant, and then to detain a person. And obviously, they should only be detaining people who are being detained for legitimate reasons, like they've committed a crime.
Yeah.
They're here in an illegal status. That is a valid reason to detain a person. But detaining them because they wrote an editorial calling for the university to stop funding the Israeli government, that is not a legitimate basis to cancel someone's visa, much less to throw them in a black hole in Louisiana.
You said your CAIR team met with him finally yesterday after 72 hours. You also said you believe he's being detained because of his commentary about Israel. Did he tell your team that ICE had told him why he was being detained? And if so, what did they say?
No, I don't know if he may have explained exactly what happened when he was detained in detail. I don't know that. I was in the room.
Sure.
What I will say is that the government, humorously, after we raised the stink about this, they decided to justify it by retweeting that anti-Muslim extremist, a person who was so extreme. They once platformed an atheist who hates Muslims, who went on to perform a violent attack in Germany to protest Muslims. This is how extreme the person is. So they retweet a person who platformed this kind of extremist, and this person's tweet was just laying out, oh, he's Hamas, he's part of the Muslim Brotherhood, none of which is true. And the government retweeted that conspiracy theory as if that was a justification for detaining him. And so it's kind of amateur hour.
Yeah, the government can retweet anything they want to retweet. That ain't my question. My question is, why am I being detained? You can retweet stuff all day long, but somebody tell me why I am being detained. No naivete. We'll continue our conversation with Ahmed Mitchell when we come forward on Tavis Smiley.
From Lamert Park with love, this is Tavis Smiley.
Make a move into a home of your own. With City National Bank's Ladder Up Home Loan Grant, you could receive up to $20,000 that you never need to pay back. Use it toward your down payment, save on closing costs, or to buy down your mortgage rate. Find out more at cnb.com/ladderuphome. City National, here for every stage of the journey. Property must be in a qualifying market in California, New York, or New Jersey. Additional terms and conditions apply. Not all applicants will qualify. Terms are subject to change without notice. City National Bank is an equal housing lender. Member FDIC. NMLS number 536994.
This is an ad by BetterHelp. We've all had that epic rideshare experience. Halfway through the trip, you know their heartbreak, their career path, and they know your aspirations to go find yourself in Portugal. It's human. We're all looking for connection, for someone to listen. But sometimes the people we spill our hearts to aren't exactly equipped to help us through it. With over a decade of data-backed experience from helping millions of people, BetterHelp matches you with a therapist based on your needs and goals. No asking for recommendations or endless scrolling through listings. Simply answer a few questions online and you'll be matched with a therapist, often in as little as 48 hours. Join over 5 million people worldwide who've trusted BetterHelp for their mental health and well-being. Get a therapist who gets you. Visit BetterHelp.com/ABC Radio to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp.com/ABC Radio.
Megan Good, Michael Hyatt, Golden Brooks, Ty Burrell, Christine Devine. They're all coming together on Saturday, November 1st at Paramount Picture Studios for the KITS Film Awards, a red carpet celebration of young filmmakers from right here in Los Angeles. Presented by Kids in the Spotlight. The KITS Film Awards showcase original short films written, cast, and performed by local youth. Powerful stories across every genre, from drama and comedy to action and suspense. It's a night that blends Hollywood energy with real community spirit, highlighting the future voices of film. These are the next generation of storytellers, stepping onto one of Hollywood's biggest stages. Come out and experience a night filled with film, music, and inspiration, where creativity, community, and purpose meet. Tickets are available now at kitsinc.org. That's KITSINC.org. The 2025 Kits Film Awards, Saturday, November 1st at Paramount Picture Studios. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Sometimes he fails at fitting in, but we're okay with that. You're inside the Tavis Smiley Show.
You are indeed with the Everett Ahmed Mitchell, who is the National Deputy Director of the Council of American-Islamic Relations, CAIR. So we were talking here in studio, Everett, during that break, and we're just still sort of mind-boggled. Again, no naivete here. But it's one thing for government, as you said, sort of snarkily to retweet what some outrageous person said. But that has nothing to do with my being told, if I'm Mr. Hamdi, why I am being held. It just is, again, to your point, this really is about whether persons who enter our country have the right to express themselves. I've been to places around the world, and on those visits, I have made comments critical of those governments. And thankfully, I've never been arrested and thrown in prison in those countries that are some of them far less, quote unquote, democratic than we are. But this is just ugly that you can come here and express yourself, and because we don't like, or somebody doesn't like what you say, we detain you. And the other thing is, who decides when you cross the line in terms of your commentary? You feel me?
Right, and that's what's so dangerous, is that as a visitor to the country, an immigrant, if the government has the right to detain you and deport you for speech, you would never know when you have crossed that line.
Exactly.
Because ironically, no one has been detained for criticizing President Trump or the United States government. They've been detained and deported for criticizing a foreign government. So it doesn't even make any sense that you can come here and criticize the United States. You can say all sorts of crazy things. It's just there's one thing you can't do, which is criticize the Israeli government. So that's the only red line we know of for sure at this moment. But there really is and must not be a red line when it comes to peaceful, free speech. The First Amendment says the government cannot restrict the free exercise of speech, period. Doesn't say for citizens, for immigrants, for anyone, period.
Yeah.
And that applies to anyone in the country.
Yeah. How do we read the point you've made a couple times now, that we don't know anybody who has as yet been detained for going against the Trump administration in their commentary, or for that matter, going against the U.S. government? But to your point, people have been detained for espousing points of view about Israel that this particular government seems not to like. That's a strange frame to be in. Tell me more.
Well, look, President Trump was elected, saying America first. And the problem is that there are individuals in the administration who I would say are Israel first, are very hostile to Palestinians, very hostile to anyone who supports Palestinian human rights. And so they have oriented the administration a way in which it is putting the priorities of foreign government ahead of our own government, our own rights, our own constitution. And so it's not everyone in the administration. There is some tug and pull, and I've heard this directly from a prominent conservative who kind of has some understanding of what's going on. But the Israel first side is largely winning that argument when it comes to domestic policy here in the United States. And so I think it's important to know that within the conservative movement, there is more debate about this. You're seeing, on one side, the Mark Levins of the world. On the other side, you're seeing Tucker Carlson and Candace Owens. There is some debate about this issue of whether or not having an Israel first policy makes any sense whatsoever. And so I don't know who's going to win that debate, but I do know that right now people are paying with their freedom, the loss of their freedom, while that debate is ongoing and not over.
Yeah, it's just a strange and bizarre, again, frame to be inside of, that these persons can come here and they in fact do critique our government, but you can't critique the Israeli government. Well, this ain't Israel. This is the United States of America. It seems to me that if we're going to deport you for something or detain you, it's for criticizing us, not criticizing a country a half a world away. Take that for what it's worth. I'll leave it there. So, does Mr. Hamdi have representation right now? Like, who's arguing his case on his behalf while he's on lockdown?
Yes, so CAIR California is representing him alongside immigration attorney Hassan Ahmed, who's a very widely respected immigration lawyer. and also the Muslim Legal Fund of America, which is another legal organization. So it's a three-member legal team that filed the motions last night and are representing him at this time.
So those motions are filed. What happens? Who hears those motions? Does he get a hearing? Does he get deported? I mean, just walk me through the next few steps of this process.
So some of the motions have been filed in federal court, which means that we're seeking federal court's intervention to demand that the government not transfer him out of California, at least certainly without notice, before attempting to do so. That the courts consider giving him bond while his case unfolds. And we are also contesting the detention itself, again, arguing that arresting him when he had not committed any crime, and when by the government's own admission he's been detained because of his speech, that is not a legitimate reason to detain him. So some of this will be heard in federal court. Some of it will be heard by the immigration judge. The way the system works, and this is what makes it somewhat difficult, is that usually before you can contest your detention in federal district court, you have to exhaust all of your potential remedies in immigration court. And immigration courts are run by the Department of Homeland Security. Their judges are appointed by the White House, quite literally. So you never really expect to win there.
Yeah.
You have to exhaust your remedies there. But nonetheless, we filed in both places at the same time in the hope that a federal court will intervene and recognize that, this is nonsense, which is somewhat what happened with Mahmoud Khalil's case.
Yeah. At the risk of sounding repetitive, he gets inside of a U.S. courtroom, and his crime is what? What is the crime?
That's the question the government will have to answer, and I don't think they have an answer to it.
Right.
What they have fallen back on is, and this is what they use with Mahmoud Khalil or Mace Ostrak. There's an old law that was passed during the Cold War that says that the Secretary of State can essentially deport someone or ban someone if their activity poses a threat to American foreign policy. And so I'm not even sure the administration knew that law existed when they arrested Mahmoud Khalil, but that's what they're relying on. Now, the problem with that is that, number one, it's never really been used, right? It's like a Cold War era law. Number two, the law itself, the way they want to use it, clearly conflicts with the First Amendment. And ironically, a judge actually struck the law down in the 1990s, saying that it was unconstitutional in this one way it was used, that it violated free speech. The judge who struck it down in the 1990s was President Trump's sister, who is a federal judge. And when it went up on appeal, her ruling was overturned on a technicality by Judge Samuel Alito, who was then not on the Supreme Court. So a lot of interesting history there for people who like the law and legal history.
What's also
that's what they're relying on to make the argument.
Yeah, what's fascinating for me about that, though, is I can't imagine, maybe I'm not the brightest bulb in the box, but I can't imagine anything that Mr. Hamdi could say on U.S. soil regarding his views about the state of Israel that would somehow measure up to that benchmark of being a threat to our foreign policy. The dots just don't connect. How could anything he would say be a threat to our foreign policy? Right.
Yeah. And none of this has to make any sense.
Yeah, it doesn't. It doesn't. Yeah.
And that's the problem we're dealing with. But again, this is what courts are for. This is what the law is for. And this is why we don't want a government that can just do whatever it wants to anyone. And by the way, I think for those who may disagree with his position on Israel or whatever, that's fine. But stop and think if the shoe was on the other foot. Like if there was some international speaker coming to America, Jordan Peterson or whoever, who's a conservative, and you like them and you like what they're saying, do you want a Democratic president to be able to lock them up and deport them because they said something you don't like? Because this is going to cut both ways, right? No one should be doing this at all, but it would set a really disturbing precedent if any president can just detain and deport a legal immigrant or a legal visitor if they say something the president doesn't like.
What also I find interesting is that these same folk on the right, these same Trump supporters, these same MAGA supporters who celebrate these sorts of detainments for people expressing their right to free speech, visiting this country, they support this sort of, ICE snatching folk mask up and locking them up. They don't know why they're being locked up. They go through this whole process and at the end may end up being deported because we don't like what they said in their speech. These same Republicans, these same conservatives are the ones fighting for the Charlie Kirks of the world, the now departed Charlie Kirks of the world, to be heard on college campuses. That's what this fight's been about on college campuses. The college campuses don't allow for this free speech of others on their campuses. And so this notion of these liberal campuses shutting everybody else out when they come to speak with an alternative point of view riles them. You see my point here? It riles them when they can't be heard on college campuses, but they're treating other people or maltreating other people the same way.
This is why consistency is so important, and it's sadly so lacking in American politics, which is that when a side is not in power, they say we need free speech. We have to have the right to free speech. We can't act like snowflakes and get offended by every little thing.
Right.
And then when that side is in power, it's no, not that kind of speech. That's offensive, right? And so, and that's across the board. You've seen it with conservatives, liberals, and it's just it's sheer power. It's just sheer power play, right? And so I think what would be great in America is if we get to a point of principle where someone can go, you know what, I strongly disagree with Sami Hamdi, or I strongly disagree with someone like Charlie Kirk.
Right.
But I absolutely will defend their right to say what they want to say without threat, without fear. That's their right. That was Charlie Kirk's right. And that is the right of everyone who is on American soil to speak up without the threat of violence or being arrested or disappeared.
Yeah, Charlie Kirk was on a college campus tour to press that very point, that our voices need to be heard on these college campuses where we are too often left out of the conversation. We get invited, people protest, students go crazy, all hell breaks loose, and we don't get a chance to be heard on these liberal campuses. That's what they were pushing for with this tour. One of the reasons why they were on this tour. But again, when others express a point of view that they don't like, they snatch you up, they detain you, and they move to sort of deport you. I digress on that for now. I guess my question is, where you think, you're a lawyer, I am not, but what do we think this debate about whether or not visitors in this country have free speech rights is taking us? Where are we headed in this debate?
Well, look, I think if you look at what's happened with the other people who have been targeted, they have won. I mean, all of the college students who were arrested, most of them are now free. Not all, but most of them are free on bond while the case proceeds. Judges have issued preliminary rulings saying, look, clearly a violation of the First Amendment. So in theory, we're moving towards a spot where a higher court issues a ruling saying, yes, this is a free speech violation. And once that happens and that ruling applies across the country, the government won't be able to do this anymore. The danger, though, the danger zone is if it were to get to a higher court and a higher court, surprise us by saying, no, actually, this is okay. The government can do whatever it wants to immigrants. They don't have free speech rights. That would open up Pandora's box. Then it would be open season on every immigrant, every traveler. So, even though we're winning right now, it's so important that the higher courts uphold the law on this point, because, again, this would set a very dangerous precedent for everyone if it goes the wrong way.
Is the goal to get Mr. Hamdi out so he can continue and finish up his U.S. speaking tour, or is the goal to get him out so he can get home?
Well, that's first of all, to get him out first and foremost, and whether or not he wants to complete his tour or go back to the United Kingdom, that's completely up to him. But the key first step is to get him released, because he has been unlawfully detained for an illegitimate reason. And I'm sure he would love to continue engaging with the American people and speaking with them, but I'm sure he's going to want to get back to his family. And his family is very concerned about him. We've been in touch with him, and obviously they're very concerned. But he's in good spirits, and he thanks everyone who stood in solidarity with him, especially those who don't agree with him, but still recognize that he has rights as a human being.
Yep. Let me just ask the obvious question: to what extent do you believe that his being Muslim has played into this narrative?
Well, look, most of the people who have been detained by the government for criticizing Israel have been Muslim, or people they thought were Muslim. There was one, I believe, Christian who was detained, who was an Arab Christian. And so undoubtedly there's a level of dehumanization that exists in our country when it comes to Muslims and Palestinians in particular, and obviously other minorities, the Black community, certainly we know what that's like, the Latino community. But, it does seem that anti-Muslim bigotry is kind of a very widely accepted form of bigotry. Like, you're not going to get fired from your job for saying something that's really a bigoted anti-Muslim statement. But hopefully if you said something anti-Semitic or, openly racist, that would get you in trouble. So no doubt Muslims are viewed as kind of a low-hanging fruit, that the government can go after them and not face much blowback. But again, that's not completely true anymore, because Mahmoud Khalil got a lot of support. He's out free now. So the country is changing for the better. People are recognizing that whether you like someone's religion or not, or if you agree with their views or not, they have fundamental constitutional rights.
Yeah. Well, we will continue to follow, continue to follow the story of Sami Hamdi, who, again, Muslim journalist who was detained in the midst of a speaking tour for CAIR. Yet detained. We'll follow this and see sort of what happens. But again, the larger question is whether or not people have free speech rights in this country, whether they be American citizens or visiting our country. And that debate is going to rage on for some time until somebody makes a final ruling on this. For now, we thank Edward Ahmed Mitchell, National Deputy Director of the Council on American-Islamic Relations, CAIR, for providing us this backstory. Edward, thanks for your time. Good to have you on this program.
Thank you, Tavis.
More of good to have you on, man. More of Tavis Smiley when we come forward.
Helping to stretch your moral and political imagination. This is Tavis Smiley.
I'm Bree Wood with BIN News Now. The trial for Florida rapper Julio Fulio's murder continues in Tampa. Prosecutors say Alicia Andrews acted as a lookout while 3 gunmen ambushed Fulio, real name Charles Jones, in a hotel parking lot. A crime scene expert testified bullet fragments were found in his car.
My sole job was going to be to photograph further and document the damage and potentially pull any projectiles from that vehicle.
Andrews faces first-degree murder and conspiracy charges. Over 50 students at the University of Tennessee at Chattanooga marched to protest the school's restructuring of DEI programs. It's the second protest since Tennessee passed a law banning DEI in public universities and government offices. And Sean Diddy Combs is set for release from federal prison on May 8, 2028. His lawyers plan to appeal. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Compassion sponsorship means food, healthcare, education, and more for a child in poverty. And there are thousands of kids who've been waiting over a year and their wait. Sponsor a child with compassion today. Text the word radio to 83393.
For victims of drunk and drug driving, our grief is unique. But you are not alone. You always have a place at MAD. Call our 24-hour victim helpline at 877-MAD-HELP or visit mad.org.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
It took 18 innings and 6 hours and 39 minutes, but the Dodgers got it done. And yes, I was up at 11:50 last night when Freddie Freeman provided the dramatic finish. Freeman led off the 18th inning with a solo home run that cleared the center field wall and gave the Dodgers a historic 6-5 win over Toronto in Game 3 of the World Series. The game tied the record for longest World Series game ever played. Freeman hit a walk-off grand slam in Game 1 of last year's World Series against the Yankees. The Dodgers take a 2-1 lead in the best of 7. Game 4 is tonight at Dodger Stadium at 5 o'clock. Shohei Ohtani, if he has any energy left, is scheduled to be the Dodgers starting pitcher. Ohtani set 2 World Series records last night, reaching base 9 times and delivering 4 extra base hits, including 2 home runs. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson. More news, opinions, and conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
We've got a lot to talk about.
Hi, I'm Zoe Williams, a.k.a. the Voice of Reason, encouraging you to join me weekdays from 7 to 9 p.m. for the world's most intriguing relationship radio roundtable. Every night, I facilitate and encourage our loyal listeners to participate in the most engaging relationship discussions you'll hear anywhere. So make it a point to rendezvous with me, Zoe Williams, the Voice of Reason, Monday through Friday, 7 to 9 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Trust me, your relationships will never be the same. The VOR is on fire tonight.
Unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got your black. This is KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio. That's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580.
Paid for by government.com. Did you know? The United States Mint has issued a new Morgan silver dollar coin in proof condition for the first time. Not only that, they are also minted in 99.9% pure silver for the first time ever in history. Coin experts are calling this an amazing opportunity for anyone that knows the enduring popularity of Morgans. But you must hurry. Only 400,000 of these legal tender silver dollars were issued. These first ever Morgan silver dollars are brand new with stunning mirror-like finish, minted by the iconic San Francisco Mint. Call now and you're guaranteed a new first ever 99.9% pure silver proof Morgan dollar. To learn more, call 1-800-973-9717. If you order now, you will receive a free coin collector bonus pack, a $25 value, free with every order. Call 1-800-973-9717 now to secure your new Morgan silver dollars before they are gone. That's 1-800-973-9717.
Lena Bloom for the Bail Project. Imagine you're stuck in a jail cell and you can't afford bail and someone offers you a way out. Just plead guilty and you can go home and kiss your kids goodnight. What do? What thousands have. You plead guilty whether you are or not. Cash bail makes poverty a crime. That's why the Bail Project helps those who can't afford it while fighting to end cash bail. Because freedom should be free.
Brought to you by the Ad Council.
With Robinhood, not only can you trade individual stocks and ETFs, you can also seamlessly buy and sell crypto at low costs. Trade all in one place. Get started now on Robinhood. Trading crypto involves significant risk. Crypto trading is offered through an account with Robinhood Crypto LLC. Robinhood Crypto is licensed to engage in virtual currency business activity by the New York State Department of Financial Services. Crypto held through Robinhood Crypto is not FDIC insured or SIPC protected. Investing involves risk, including loss of principal. Securities trading is offered through an account with Robinhood Financial LLC, member SIPC, a registered broker-dealer.
And the top-rated African-American talk show host in the nation, according to Talkers Magazine. You're tapped in with Tavis Smiley right now.
Before I get to our next guest, a couple of breaking news pieces at this hour that I want to share with you. First of all, this hurricane, Melissa, has made landfall in Jamaica. The storm's winds escalated from 70 miles per hour to 140 in just a day. Went from 70, doubled, 140 miles per hour in just one day. One of the fastest intensifications on record, we are told, in the Atlantic Ocean because the water is so warm, unusually warm right about now. So Hurricane Melissa has made landfall in Jamaica. It is a Category 5, which, as you know, is the highest on the Saffir-Simpson scale. With sustained winds, you have to exceed 157 miles per hour. So it's Category 5, and we are pulling and praying for all those precious persons in Jamaica because, again, we expect some intense damage. There are a lot of people who refuse to evacuate. The Prime Minister said now is no time to be brave. Some got out, many did not. But when this is all said and done, we expect the damage to be pretty intense on this tiny island nation of Jamaica. But Hurricane Melissa has made its landfall. We've been looking the last couple of days at the path of this hurricane, but it has now made landfall in Jamaica, and all we can do at this point is pray for those who are still on that island. That's the first bit of news. The second bit of news is that Bibi Netanyahu, the prime minister in Israel, has ordered strikes on Gaza, saying that Hamas has violated the ceasefire. So all that hype just a couple weeks ago about the ceasefire and Donald Trump demanding a Nobel Peace Prize, the office of the prime minister said today that he had ordered forceful strikes, that's their phrase, forceful strikes after Hamas fired on Israeli troops and failed to return hostages' bodies. So the war is back on again in the Middle East after all that talk about a peace, about a ceasefire rather, just a couple weeks ago. Bibi Netanyahu once again has ordered strikes on Gaza. So it's going down in the Middle East. It's going down in Jamaica. Prayers up for Jamaica, and we will follow this story tomorrow and see what happens in the Middle East. But plenty of developing stories, even as we speak. But I want to get those two things to you as quickly as I could. All right, now we push forward in conversation with Diamond Spratling, award-winning climate disruptor, author and founder of Girl Plus Environment, to talk briefly here about her work to increase Black women's participation, in particular, in the clean energy sector, in spite of these environmental cuts by Donald Trump. Diamond Spratling, good to have you on. How are you today?
Hi, I'm doing great. Thanks so much for having me.
Diamond, good to have you on the program. My pleasure. Let me start with this. Speaking of news, breaking news. So Bill Gates has been out front for quite some time now on this climate conversation. He has spent billions of his own money, in fact, raising the alarm about the dangers of climate change. And now, as of a couple hours ago, he is pushing back against what he calls a doomsday outlook that appears to have shifted his own stance on the risk posed by a warming climate. In a lengthy memo released today, Gates sought to tamp down the alarmism. I'm reading now from the New York Times. In a lengthy memo released today, Gates sought to tamp down the alarmism he said many people are using to describe the effects of rising temperatures. He calls it alarmism. I call it reality, but I ain't mad at Bill Gates. That's his point of view. I just think he's wrong about it. They ain't alarmist. It's real. It's real as rain. He says, and I quote, although climate change will have serious consequences, particularly for people in the poorest countries, it will not lead to humanity's demise, close quote. Goes on to say, and I quote again, people will be able to live and thrive in most places on earth for the foreseeable future, close quote. This comes after he wrote that book a few years ago called How to Avoid a Climate Disaster. So Bill Gates is changing his tune on climate change. Lord have mercy. What do you say about that, Diamond Spratling?
Well, let me just start off by saying I think that there's a lot to dissect here. So the first thing is, because I also read that article too through the New York Times, and I think that, kind of just that title alone was kind of a bit misleading. And they wanted us to have a little bit of outrage and think like, oh, wow, what do you mean humanity's, it won't lead to our demise. But what I will say is that as climate educators, we know that climate change is not going to lead to humanity's demise. We've actually stopped that narrative many, many years ago because we saw that instilled fear for a lot of people and a lot of hopelessness and makes people feel like, oh, well, if we're all going to die anyway, what should we do, in the first place? And so that doom and gloom narrative really has not worked for a very long time. And I know folks remember, back in the day, Al Gore's narrative was really like, the sky is falling, doom and gloom, we have to save everybody, but what we've seen is that has stopped a lot of people from believing because, every year we're like, oh, well, we're still here. But what I think the key message here is that, well, one, we do have to do something still, but understanding that people are going to experience climate change very differently. And we already have. And the people in communities around the world who are most vulnerable, most marginalized in our poorest communities are going to see the largest impacts, and they already have. We're going to see an increase in natural disasters. We were just talking about what's going on in Jamaica today. We were talking about the intensity of natural disasters, even thinking that a lot of people won't have access to the same foods. We'll have shorter seasons. We won't have those same fruits and vegetables that we were used to having. And so I think it's less about no climate change does not exist or anything like that. I don't think that that's really, what he's saying, but it's more that the way that we communicate it and the way that we go about this work is going to look a lot different. And it should, because that very outrage and very doomism prospect, it pushes people away from caring about the work. And so I think there's a lot to say in how we talk about issues that's going to ignite action, and understanding that, poverty, health, all of those things, climate change is contributing to a lot of it. So even if we wanted to get rid of all of the work, it's really not going to happen because all of those things are essentially interconnected.
So a couple of things you said I want to just push back on. Number one, so when Bill Gates acknowledges in that quote, although climate change will have serious consequences particularly for people in the poorest countries. It will not lead to humanity's demise, close quote. He acknowledges, as do you, that poor people and people of color are the ones who are going to be worst hit. We know already, we see this every day, that we are the victims more than anybody else of these climate maladies, of these climate catastrophes. So even if you want to use the word, even if he says we're being alarmist, what's wrong with being alarmist on behalf of poor people and people of color who going to catch the most hell? What's wrong with being alarmist about that?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that that's such a valid point. And the thing is that even when communities, even when it is, we see all the time, it's our communities who are suffering the most. Everyone else is still going to be impacted. We're all on the same planet. There are no borders when it comes to climate change, and there are no borders when it comes to air pollution. We're all on, we're on the same thing. But what I think is important here is the way that we talk about it in a way that, yes, this is about climate change, but it's not just about climate change. It's about our health. It's about our well-being. It's about the natural disasters, even our ability to get up and go to work every morning. Do we have access to those things? And so I think being able to communicate climate change in a way that is more intersectional, I think that is really the beauty in it. The ability to be able to talk about climate action through a health lens, because that's something that does resonate more with people. People are more present about things that are going to impact their health. And so maybe talking less about the polar bears are, the ice sheets are melting and all of those things, because people don't see that as something that's as closely related to their everyday lives. They want to know whether we can put food on the table every single day for our families.
Well, I hear that point. When we come forward, talk about the health lens that you want us to look through rather than this lens of alarmism. But I would just add very quickly, I'm not so sure. I'm not an expert. I've done a lot of work, though, on climate change. I'm not so sure it's just the doom and gloom message that doesn't give us doesn't gain us or get us the kind of involvement from everyday people that we want on this issue. I think it's that the issue is so massive. It seems so big that people don't know that they have any agency in this. It just seems so overwhelming. It seems so intractable. That's different than being turned off by a message of doom and gloom. But trying to figure out how to get in where you fit in is a whole nother question. And I think, again, people aren't sure that they have agency in this, or the issue just seems so overwhelming, so intractable that they don't. It's like trying to, how do you eat an elephant, right? It's like one bite at a time. But that's a lot to take on. And so I'm not so sure it's the message as it is to people just trying to figure out how to get in. I digress on that. We'll talk about this health lens that Diamond Spratling raises when we come forward here on Tavis, Smiley.
From California to the Carolinas, everybody's listening to Tavis. More when we come forward.
On Thursday evening, November 6th, you're invited to the next KBLA Talk 1580 Altadena Town Hall meeting. This time, we're convening at Victory Bible Church, 1497 North Hill Avenue in Pasadena. The town hall will once again be broadcast live on KBLA Talk 1580 from 4 to 6 p.m. on Thursday, November 6th. But you're invited to join us in person for this urgent and necessary community conversation. The theme for this Altadena Eaton Canyon Fire Town Hall is Understanding the Wildfire Recovery Compensation Fund. The primary focus of this gathering is to inform residents about Southern California Edison's newly launched Wildfire Recovery Compensation Program and provide clarity on eligibility and the claims process. There are plenty of questions to be asked, and only KBLA Talk 1580 has the right moderators to ask the tough questions, the right stakeholders and community activists to share their insights, and we have confirmed the participation of corporate executives from Southern California Edison to answer our queries. So be sure to join us at Victory Bible Church in Pasadena, 1497 North Hill Avenue on Thursday, November 6th. The event is free and open to the public, but registration is required at kbla1580.com. That's kbla1580.com. Light refreshments will be served immediately following the live town hall. This KBLA Talk 1580 Altadena Rising Town Hall is brought to you by the Black Freedom Fund.
California, this is your moment. The special election is November 4th, and your vote helps decide your future, your community, and your state. Drop your ballot at a secure drop box. Visit an early vote center or mail it. Your participation powers democracy. Every ballot makes a difference. Tell a friend to do the same. Sign up at where'smyballot.sos.ca.gov to track your ballot. Make your voice count. Don't delay. Vote today. A message from the California Secretary of State.
We ask seniors how to prevent Medicare scams.
My best advice, if you get a phone call, do not talk to the person. These people are well trained. Don't talk to them.
They don't know me. They're just trying to scam me.
Don't be fooled. Hang up. Just hang up.
Never give out your Medicare number.
They're going to get your number to put in a false claim.
If I get a call from someone, I don't pick up the phone. And should I pick up the phone and they ask for information, then I hang up.
How do you detect Medicare fraud?
Just like I check my credit card statements, I check my Medicare statements monthly.
Scammers can get a hold of your number, order medical devices through your account, and you're not even going to know about it if you don't look at your statement.
Check your statement every month.
If you get your statement and you see something that you know you did not have done, you report it.
Call your senior Medicare Patrol.
To report Medicare fraud, call the Senior Medicare Patrol at 855-613-7080.
Freedom is an endless meeting. So let's get back to it with Tavis Smiley.
Tavis Smiley and Diamond Spratling, award-winning climate disruptor, author and founder of Girl Plus Environment. Her work and witnesses at the intersection of increasing black women's participation in the clean energy sector. We'll get to that in just a second here, I promise. But you were talking earlier about the lens that you think we ought to be looking through issues of climate through. And so if alarmism is the wrong approach, if doom and gloom is the wrong approach, I take your point. Tell me about this health lens that you think we ought to be wrestling with.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, I think this health piece is so important because we care about our health, as human. And even going back to my own personal story, I was a kid very interested in the environmental space naturally. But when I was, going onto social media, making posts saying, we've got to save the universe, save the planet, protect the polar bears, I got crickets, people weren't really interested in what I was trying to say. But when I was talking to my family about the connections between air pollution and being surrounded by factories, especially being a kid growing up on the west side of Detroit, where we have so many automotive industries there that, of course, brought so many jobs, but so much air pollution that also contributed to our health. And so that was something that was able to tell a better story that was more meaningful, because a lot of people in my family and my uncles, they all worked at those plants. They all had similar health conditions because of it. And so being able to tie it closely into what does this have to do with my health and my well-being, my economic power, being able to go to work every single day. When a kid has an asthma attack, they have to miss school. A parent has to miss work. That's missed school days and work days and education. And so being able to make that connection, I've seen has been a stronger, more significant argument for people to really understand that this is a large problem, but it's not a problem that I cannot be a part of the solutions.
Mm-hmm. When we come forward in our remaining moments with Diamond Spratling, we'll talk about this program that she has brought online to grow the number of black women, in particular in the clean energy sector. You're listening to Tavis Smiley.
This is getting good. Yeah, man. Tavis Smiley continues when we come forward. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. LA County's new Justice Care and Opportunities Department, or JCOD, is here to support justice-involved individuals and their families. The JCOD Support Center is now taking calls at 1-833-LACJCOD. That's 1-833-522-5263. Available 7 days a week from 6 a.m. to 11 p.m., the Support Center is your one-stop shop for re-entry issues and court support. They offer court reminders, offers, connections to local services, transportation assistance for housing, court appearances, and childcare. The JCOD hotline provides personalized help to connect you with services that you need. And don't forget to check out justiceconnect.org for more information. Remember, it's free and available every day at 1-833-522-5263. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Do you owe $10,000 or more in credit card debt or personal loans? With credit card debt at all-time highs, Debt Relief Advocates is urgently notifying consumers of debt relief now being made available, designed to aid consumers with out-of-control credit card debt. Those who qualify and enroll for this relief program will only have to pay back a fraction of what they owe. This is not bankruptcy or a debt consolidation loan. This is a relief program that credit card companies would rather you not know about, as it ends your debt nightmare and saves you lots of money. Consumers owing at least $10,000 in credit card debt or personal loans can now take advantage of this debt relief as the cost of living skyrockets. Debt Relief Advocates has established a relief hotline for you to call to learn what debt reduction you may qualify for, so don't wait. For this free information, call the Relief Hotline at 800-515-4493, 800-515-4493, 800-515-4493.
If you're like me, 60 and retired, making ends meet, especially here at the supermarket and drugstore, is tough. I'm so blessed to have found benefitscheckup.org. It's a free and confidential website from the National Council on Aging that connected me to $1,200 a year in programs that help pay for food, medicine, utilities, and more. Maybe it can help you. benefitscheckup.org.
You know where you want to go in life, and City National Bank can help. City National knows the dedication it takes to build your vision for the future into a reality, and our team is here for you. We have a wide range of options to help, from personal savings accounts to interest-bearing money market savings accounts and more, all designed to help you get where you want to go. City National, here for every stage of the journey. Learn more at cnb.com. City National Bank is a subsidiary of Royal Bank of Canada, member FDIC.
Less monologue, more dialogue. Tavis Smiley continues right now.
All right, Diamond Sprouting, tell me about your work with regard to getting more black women in the clean energy sector.
Yeah, absolutely. So almost 7 years ago, I started a nonprofit called Girl Plus Environments, and essentially we're now a over 700 member organization in 35 different states, where we work to get more Black and brown women into the climate and environmental space. And so essentially our flagship program is called the Protecting Our Energy Project, where essentially we educate more Black women about how do we get into the clean energy space. Is that a sector that I can even get into? What does clean energy mean? And even beyond the job sector, how can I engage in this work within my own community? And so we started this about almost 3 years ago at this point, and we did an entire campaign to educate communities, especially within Georgia, about clean energy and energy policy, and understanding their energy rates and how that's impacted by our public service commissioners, and making sure that people know that they have a say in what clean energy looks like within their state. And so we've been training now over 50 Black women through our Energy Justice Fellowship program, where we provide stipends, monthly trainings, and also give them funding to lead their own clean energy project. And so we've helped them to be able to submit public comments, showing up to hearings, talking to their representatives about clean energy and how it's impacting them and just how important it is. So it's been an incredible fellowship program we've done the past 3 years. We're actually kicking off our third one in Mobile, Alabama, that we kicked off a couple of months ago. We've distributed over $12,000 in emergency energy bill assistance specifically for Black women. And it's been really great. I mean, even just last week, we actually hosted a brunch to the polls event, where we had a brunch with all Black women, and we came together and we educated them on who are the public service candidates that are currently running, because that election is coming up and that's going to impact what our energy bills look like and what clean energy projects get passed. So it's been very incredible to really make sure that we see us in this work and able to do something even from a community level and just kind of come together on any energy justice initiatives within Georgia and also other parts of the country as well.
What happens when Black women show up in these spaces? What difference does their presence make?
Oh, it's incredible. Black women, we don't play. And the thing is, and what we've seen is that the energy has been more uplifted, the energy and what we're able to bring and get more people into the work. And I think that that's really the piece here, is that we're not just bringing in Black women, they're bringing in their own communities and they're bringing in their kids with them as well. And so it's very intergenerational. We're seeing that work can actually get done. And that myth that Black women don't or aren't interested in clean energy is wrong. It's that we haven't been given the opportunities or the access or the space. And so when we do that, we've seen that we show up and we show up loud and we're able to build power from the ground up.
Yeah. I appreciate the work and witness that you are engaged in. Diamond Spratling, honored to have had you on this program. She's the founder of Girl Plus Environment, doing the kind of work to make sure that Black women show up in spaces that they have heretofore been unwelcomed in or left out of. Diamond, good to have you on the program. All the best to you. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much for having me. Take care.
Good to have you on the program. Repeating, I should say, two stories I reported on earlier, in case you've just tuned in. Hurricane Melissa has made landfall in Jamaica, and so we're praying and pulling for those persons on that island in Jamaica. And Bibi Netanyahu has ordered the fighting to begin once again in Gaza, saying that Hamas has broken the peace treaty, so they're going in again. The fighting has or is about to restart. Should be a great hour with Leonard Pitts Jr. A lot to discuss when he joins us when we come forward on Tavis Smiley.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Bree Wood with BIN News Now. The trial for Florida rapper Julio Fulio's murder continues in Tampa. Prosecutors say Alicia Andrews acted as a lookout while 3 gunmen ambushed Fulio, real name Charles Jones, in a hotel parking lot. A crime scene expert testified bullet fragments were found in his car.
My sole job was going to be to photograph further and document the damage and potentially pull any projectiles from that vehicle.
Andrews faces first-degree murder and conspiracy charges. Over 50 students at the University of Tennessee at Chattanooga marched to protest the school's restructuring of DEI programs. It's the second protest since Tennessee passed a law banning DEI in public universities and government offices. And Sean Diddy Combs is set for release from federal prison on May 8, 2028. His lawyers plan to appeal. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Compassion sponsorship means food, healthcare, education, and more for a child in poverty. And there are thousands of kids who've been waiting over a year. End their wait. Sponsor a child with compassion today. Text the word radio to 83393.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
It took 18 innings and 6 hours and 39 minutes, but the Dodgers got it done. And yes, I was up at 11:50 last night when Freddie Freeman provided the dramatic finish. Freeman led off the 18th inning with a solo home run that cleared the center field wall and gave the Dodgers a historic 6-5 win over Toronto in Game 3 of the World Series. The game tied the record for longest World Series game ever played. Freeman hit a walk-off grand slam in Game 1 of last year's World Series against the Yankees. The Dodgers take a 2-1 lead in the best-of-7. Game 4 is tonight at Dodger Stadium at 5 o'clock. Shohei Ohtani, if he has any energy left, is scheduled to be the Dodgers starting pitcher. Ohtani set 2 World Series records last night, reaching base 9 times and delivering 4 extra base hits, including 2 home runs. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson. More news, opinions, and conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
You ready? You're invited to the KBLA Talk 1580 1580 Community Health and Wellness Fair on Saturday, November 8th, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. Catch at Audubon Middle School in Leimert Park, 4120 11th Avenue. Join us for a day of health, healing, and community connection. There will be health screenings, immunizations, wellness information, a Catch Charter School recruitment fair, plus music and healthy snacks. And it's all free at the KBLA Talk 1580 Community Health and Wellness Fair, Saturday, November 8th, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. at Audubon Middle School in Leimert Park, 4120 11th Avenue. Come out and bring the entire family. And if you have not yet checked out our KBLA Health and Wellness Hub, you should at KBLA1580.com. KBLA Talk 1580 thanks Catch Charter School, Prudential, Eastside, Cedars-Sinai, and St. John's Community Health. At KBLA Talk 1580, we believe that a healthy community is a thriving community.
That's right, baby.
I'm Tavis Smiley, and at this hour, this program is syndicated, so we're heard in different markets around the country at different times. But at this hour, as I sit in L.A., Hurricane Melissa has hit Jamaica as a catastrophic Category 5 storm, the strongest to last the island since record-keeping began back in 1851. We are told that this slow-moving storm is going to linger over the island for some time, moving diagonally through it until heading on to slam into Cuba, with impacts also expected in Haiti and the Bahamas. So this is a major, major storm, Category 5, as you know, top of the line on the scale. The storm has winds of 157 miles per hour. It's hard for infrastructure in Jamaica to withstand a Category 5. And so we will continue praying for those in Jamaica, but going to be some difficult days ahead when this storm finally passes through. But again, one of the tragedies is it's going to